So welcome back guys, my name is Amlan and in today's tutorial we shall be learning a bit about PHP. In fact, earlier in the day, like I was trying to solve someone's problem. So this is Willa and he was telling that, well, I have some problem in my code, and then he writes this code which is so huge, and then various people started commenting on this, and I somehow for a moment definitely felt that his problems were not actually related to the part of the code which he was inferring. I mean, the one which he had on screen, I was somehow getting opinion. I mean, I was somehow feeling that this was not having some problems. Hey, wait a moment, let's have some music. It's very boring otherwise. PHP is really sometimes getting on my nerves. Just a minute. Open piano. Open. It's not playing, is it? Open. And then let's play it. No, this is not good. Yeah, so this is good music. I'll just reduce the volume a bit because otherwise we won't feel like studying. Okay, so let's now hit the problem right on the head. So he gave this code of his, okay, and somewhere down the line when I read his comments, so let's see what he got as error. So this is one thing which he showed that he had problem. So when I looked at the screen, what does it say? I mean, I ask you people, what does it say? It tells us that the variable has not been defined, norm, then the variable has not been defined mail, variable has not been defined subject, then message. So obviously undefined indexes are coming into role. Now let's just close this. And if we actually go up, I see the part of the code which is like all PHP. So obviously, I mean, it's very difficult right now, like without looking at the form part of his, to understand whether the errors are because of undefined indexes from which he is fetching data using the post method, or is it because of some conditional braces which he may have messed up while creating those if loops, and so many of them, because if you closely observe, it's nesting within nesting within nesting. I don't know how many nests have been created. Well, Willa was having some strange problems, and he told that he was always getting this message: "Vous devez solci tous les champs pour pouvoir poster un commentaire." That's, you should fill all the fields for posting in a comment. That's basically a little bit of French. I used to learn French when I was small. Well, I basically, what I felt at first glance, the problem was that definitely the form part which he was actually having to collect in all these fields, because basically this is a mail application what he has written. So basically from a form he is trying to collect the name, subject, email and message, and then he is trying to put in that message into his database using the mail application inside PHP. But definitely of interest to me, after having seen this, like this message was, I could definitely figure out that maybe there is some problem of defining of those, you know, field names which he is trying to collect. Because inside PHP, when we write like if not empty post no, and if not empty post mail and all this stuff, when I write this no, mail, subject and all those things, like, you know, I will later show this. So all these things when we write, it basically means that we are capturing this from the form. So this fields should be there exactly like it is there in the form, you know. So there cannot be anything else, because think of it yourself, like your name is, say something like my name is Amlan, and suppose I have defined my form name as Amlan there, and suppose I call here like, you know, Harry or someone else. Obviously I will get a message that undefined index, because it doesn't recognize the index in the first place. Well, that was something which I thought initially was the problem. So I told him, can you please give me like that part of yours as well? So he definitely gave me that part without actually going much into all this stuff. He actually gave me that part, and I have replicated that here. So you can see that he has made good use of tables and stuff. Tables are something which I terribly hate, but definitely nevertheless he has made use of it. And I could immediately figure out the name attribute gives the value of the field element. So here it is norm, but if you carefully observe, actually what I have done is, in my notepad++, the mail is the script which he had originally written. So you can see he's trying to search norm ctr. So I'll just try and bring this so that you can look at me while I speak. adjust the camera a bit. So basically he's trying to bring in norm CTR, whereas in the form he has defined it as norm, so that doesn't make sense, right? So oh god, I have some arrows in my head right now. So that is one thing. So this was one very big problem, and now how this problem affects, I will tell you. Now see, there is a loop inside a loop, okay, and obviously he has made some other problems including braces also. So let's look at the correct thing. I mean, this is the corrected code which I have written. I have indented it as well so as to make the logic be very clear. So you can see, as soon as this norm is not getting captured properly, this entire thing is not being run, obviously. So he is automatically going to this part of the loop, because this entire loop is now not run. He is going to this loop. So it will always tell him that, hey, you need to fill in all the comments part, like all the fields to post in a comment. So this is what he was getting, and he was clueless because he was thinking that he is capturing the right value, but the right value was actually only norm, whereas he had defined in his, because he I mean, I was showing you this is the correct thing, but in his place it was norm CTR. So this was actually pointed out by someone. So this is the first of the errors. Okay, so once this error got rectified, this is a very major error getting rectified, because if now this gets rectified, that means that we are actually traveling inside this body. Otherwise this body is not even traveled. You see, if this thing is like validated, if this thing evolves out to be true, it is only then that, you know, like we can define, like he has defined this 4 variables, and he has used very good validation, in fact, preventing like from MySQL injection, SQL injection, and like cross-site scripting using HTML entities, and good white spaces all being avoided using trim function. I can see very good coding out here, obviously very good coding, but I repeat, if this is the index itself is not defined, the first step itself was wrong, then obviously you are not entering the body of the loop and you are moving to the else part of the loop, and that is why you had that error, friend. Now understand another issue. See, this if loop starts here and ends here. What you are trying to look at by the conditions is whether, like, I will actually try and show your form in this part. I will do one thing. I have actually created a folder, localhost, I mean inside my WAMP server. I have created something called as a mail, and this is the form.html. so this is what you got in your screen, right? So what you are trying to do through this loop is, like, you are trying to check whether the string length is like exceeding 25 characters or not, like norm na do passe di passe 25 characters. So you want it to be more than 25 characters. I understand that, that's in French. Then you are checking whether it's a proper validation, like the email is properly written. So you use the filter word function inside PHP, that's great. Then you again check for the subject, the length of it. So if it doesn't exceed 25, you again throw in an error. This is all okay, everything is perfect. But what you messed up was, this loop starts from here and hence here, like after this else if, again this else is also there and everything is there. So this loop, I mean, if nothing is there in the fields, then definitely this else part comes. So like all the fields need to be filled. But in your mail.php, this structure was not evident. The formation of loops without proper indenting actually lost, I mean, you lost yourself in it. And this is why I think without indenting codes can become very horrible, because really I don't know where things are heading right now. So I mean, I could realize that at my place that there needs to be 2 curly braces at the end, and it's very clear, like this body, this if body, I am trying to check whether all the fields are filled. If not, then it ends, that loop ends here, and like I'm checking like whether, I mean, I'm then telling like if all the fields have not been filled, then go ahead and fill all the fields. And the first if loop, which is the major loop, wherein like we are checking whether the form has been submitted or not in the first place, that ends here. So like then definitely needs to be 2 curly braces. But when I look at your thing, there is not 2 curly braces. In fact, you had made another error wherein I also saw that instead of, you know, this curly brace coming after else, it actually somehow started before else. So definitely this curly braces cannot be manipulated, point number 1. And point number 2, they have, since they are conditional operators and everything, they need to be very neat and clean. In fact, when you look at this code of mine, I have actually made use of style configurator inside Notepad++, but this is just to help you understand that first we are checking whether the form has been submitted or not when we do this. And when I say this, what do I mean? The form input button has the name attribute as sent. So like whatever will be the value, like when I click this value envoyer on the screen, so let me see. So when I click this value envoyer, it has a variable, like the variable field name is basically, you know, like this, the name attribute value send. So inside contact.php we are checking whether the form contents has been sent. So as soon as I click on that button envoyer, all the fields, like when I say the fields, what do I actually mean? All these fields, the fields, all this name attributes like norm, mail, subject, and obviously send is not this, send is basically the submit button. So all these four things, name, subject, mail, and all this stuff, whatever user puts in it, like as soon as I put this values in it and I click on the envoy button, all these values in the form will now go using the post method to the action script, which is contact.php. So inside contact.php now all these values come. Now like you can understand this code. So let's understand it line by line. So first we are checking if the form has been set and the post variables has been received. Okay, we enter the loop. Then we check whether the norm and all these field values are empty or not empty. If they are not empty, then we proceed. Then we actually apply validation, like we apply the MySQL real escape strings, HTML entities. My other friend also was suggesting whether this was supported, not supported. Definitely supported because I have downloaded the latest PHP 5.5 something, I think. Then we basically check for each of those fields and everything. And if we find everything to be anything to be wrong, then we actually throw out error in the screen. But if there is no error, then we try and establish a database connection, and we create I have created a database exactly like his, so that it's very easy for him to understand, wherein the table is commenter and there are four like fields like norm, email, subject, and message. Like the values, whatever is typed in the form will enter here. Okay, so like if there are no errors in the filling of the form, like if everything is proper here, let's say Amlan email address I will give, let's say subject is peace, and let's say knowledge is always free, knowledge should always be free, sorry, and always remember that the best things in life are priceless. So this is what I type. So everything is proper now. So like if I click on the envoy button, this should create an imprint on the database. That will be checking in a few moments. So if there are no errors, then what we do, we connect to the database, we select the database, and then like we run a query wherein we are putting into the values what we have filled in the form, like whatever we have filled in this form will now enter into this tables like norm, email, Sujay, message, sorry, this fields of the table. If the query is successful, we will be getting a message on the screen that our comment has been successfully sent. Otherwise, if the form itself has not been selected, then the loop will not run, and we will proceed to the else loop, which will say that we'll need to post a comment, like if anything was not posted. Oh sorry, I messed it up there. Like if this is the loop, sorry. So if some of the fields are like the name field, the mail field, the subject field, or the message field has not been filled, then this loop ends here and it says that please fill in the field, respective field, whichever has not been filled. So basically there are like this 4 fields. If in case one of the fields are not filled, then like we will get that message, which they will say tule shom. That means that you need to fill in all the fields. Okay, so we'll just do this piece, and now if I send envoyer, you will see that votre commentaire bien envoyé. That means that your message has been successfully sent. So if I go to WAMP server right now, inside WAMP, if I go to PHP myadmin, actually I have opened this already here. So here like you can see my Islam music is there, database, and okay, I will have to log in again. So let me just log in without I guess there's a timeout to that. So you can see actually I've repeated this stuff twice. So you can see the imprint has now been successfully been made on the database, like inside my PHP my admin, inside Islam music. And if I see the structure, so you can see I have this table commenter, and like inside commenter basically I had created those 4 things: name, message, email ID and everything. And like it's all pretty clear now, and if I do browse, you can see all these values are coming. In fact, let's repeat this. I will just delete. I forgot to copy this. Yes, so let's delete that, and let's delete this as well. In the meantime, let me just open that form again. Oh, it's taking some time. I really hate this when... Oh god. How wonderfully things go wrong when you want to do something. Let me see how much I have here. Let me just browse it and see. Okay, I don't have anything right now. So let's try and put this thing. I will just go back, and instead of taking my own name, let me take Prashant. And here let me take Prashant9232. And let the message be, let there be peace and love in the world. Wait. So our message has been posted. Now let's go and check in the database. Just reload this, and there you go, Prashant with the email prashant9323@gmail.com, and the message is let there be peace and love in the world. So you can see that everything has been successfully posted. So now this thing really works. So I will just wrap up fast, like what we have all learned in this tutorial. So what Wheeler had initially told was like he was not able to make this thing run. This is basically a PHP mail function which he has made. Basically inside the form he has defined the various fields in which he wants to capture the user values, and the fields were like the name attributes, and the name attributes were name, mail, and then subject. And then basically the form had its button submit. As soon as the user puts in the value and clicks the button submit, all the form variables, that is values for name, mail and subject, is stored in the form and traveled by the method http post to the form action, that is contact.php. Once it enters contact.php, basically we first check whether the form has been submitted or not. If it has been submitted, then the next thing, that is the fields, are being checked. So like all the fields, whether they have been filled by the user or not. So the fields are specifically norm, mail, subject and message. Here he had got it wrong. He had written norm_ctr, however in the form it was like norm. So that was the first mistake. And then like we enter here, we pass the loop body, check whether like for different conditions, if all the conditions are satisfied and there are no errors, then we establish a connection to the database, and then we run a query wherein we insert into the table certain values. So everything as per logical conditions. But however, because of proper indentation in this code, we can see how beautifully the braces open and close, and this is how things should be. However, in his code I can understand the curly braces were all messed up, and so like the main loop never ended and the child loop got lost in its own ways. So I hope that solves your query, I mean Wheeler, and hope to be good friends in the future. I mean, I'm here to help. If you think this has helped you and you think that I really made sense in what I said, then go ahead and help others. And for other people who are watching this tutorial, like who may be wanting to know whether I do this on a regular basis, well, I have a page explain with examples which is doing pretty well with around 11,000 fans right now. I keep on writing notes and everything. I have my own channel, YouTube channel with explain with examples. So go ahead and subscribe to that channel, post in your queries. If I get time, I will be making video tutorials for solving your queries. I'm not a coder or developer. I am basically a civil engineer. You can understand how difficult it was for me to learn all this. but it was because of pure passion and interest for the field that I do learn all this. So hopefully in the next time, in short upcoming future, we all connect on a big, huge level, and may peace float all around. Thank you.